Hello! Today I'm going to show you how to single crochet step by step, slow and up close. We are also going to cover some common beginner mistakes and how to fix them so you don't get stuck or frustrated along the way. I'm also going to show you what I do to get these really lovely straight edges so that you can do it too and do it every single time. So grab your yarn and your hook and let's learn together. As you're starting this tutorial, I always recommend that the first time you're watching this video, if you're new to crochet or new to a stitch or new to any practice really, you watch the entire video from start to finish, just so you can get the concept of what's happening, you can get an idea of how to do things, then actually start practicing the second time around you watch the video. You can also pause the video or slow down if I'm moving too fast. Whatever works for you, whatever pace works for you, find it and go with it. For this tutorial, you'll need your yarn and your hook. Also, you can just keep your scissors close as well as your darning needle. Light colored yarn is preferable, especially if you're starting out, so that you can see your stitches better and clearly, and a matching hook. Most of the time, the label of the yarn will have a recommendation for the hook size you should use, but if it doesn't, I'm using light worsted weight yarn and a 5mm crochet hook, and you can use the same. You're also going to need a relaxed grip. This really helps your stitches stay even and awesome. So before we start, let's talk about how you hold your hook. There are people who prefer to hold it like a pencil, like that, or like a knife, like this. I prefer to hold it like a pencil, like so, but you use whichever method feels comfortable. And for your yarn, guide it over your fingers in a way that feels natural. For me, that includes wrapping it around my finger a couple of times so that this acts as my tension controller. I just let go of a loop whenever I want to work. You'll see how that plays out as I'm crocheting. But with everything in holding your hook and your yarn, there really isn't a perfect way. You just want to aim for control, not too tight, not too loose, just the perfect grip. So first off, you're going to leave about a 6 or 7 inch tail before you start your work. You don't need your tape measure for this because from your wrist all the way up to your middle finger, that's about 6 to 7 inches. So you can just lay your yarn down like this and do a quick estimation, and 6 to 7 inches is about that big. You're going to leave this as your tail, and the reason we do that is because when you finish your project, you want to weave this back into your project so that it's neat and clean and nice and not visible and doesn't come undone. So that's why we leave such a long tail. So we are going to make a slip knot. What you do, the easiest method I have, is you put the tail like so and your working yarn on top, and then insert your fingers and pull up the working yarn like that, and you have your slip knot. So just adjust it again using the working yarn to a size that is suitable for the hook and tighten it using the tail end. After you make your slip knot, you're going to chain about 10 to 15 stitches. I'm going to be making a chain of 15 for this tutorial. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as you're making your chains, and let them sit on the shaft of your hook, which is this distance right from there to there, because this controls the size of the loop that you have on your hook and thus the size of your chains. And if your chains feel too tight, try to loosen your grip, try to loosen your hands a bit, or you can go up a hook size just for the chain, and then when we start working the stitches, you go back to the chain that you had originally started with. This makes the next steps so much easier if your chains are the right size and not too tight. So that was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. We have 15 chains. And how we count our chains is from the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. You're going to notice that there's always going to be a loop on your hook. This isn't a chain, it's a loop on your hook, so it doesn't count. Where do you insert your hook to begin? Single crochet is about the size of a chain. So what you're going to do is just not work into this first chain, but in the second chain from your hook. You'll notice that most patterns that work with single crochets will tell you to do the same, that you work in the second chain from your hook, and this one right here is it. This is the first chain from your hook, and this is the second one. So you just turn your chain a bit like that so that you can start working. And now let's talk about where exactly to insert your hook. Is it here? Is it here? Is it the back?
Where is it?
But again, the pattern you're using will direct you as to where to insert your hook. And if it doesn't, as you're starting out, I recommend that you insert into both loops like this, right there into the middle of that chain. That's where I recommend you insert your hook. You can see that you have sort of 2 loops at the top of your hook and 1 at the bottom right here. Not into 1 like that, but into 2 like that. The reason I recommend that is that so that your foundation chain can have a bit of structure and that it's a bit firm. So insert your hook into the second chain from your hook, and remember, the yarn on your loop doesn't count as a chain. What you're going to do to work a single crochet is you're going to yarn over, which simply means to bring the yarn over your hook like that, then pull it out through that hole, and at this point you're going to have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over again and pull through both loops so that you now have 1 loop on your hook, and there you have it. You've made your first single crochet. Let's do that again a bit slowly. So you insert your hook, you see that's the chain space. You're going to insert your hook into that space, yarn over, bring up that loop, so you'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook, right? Again, the next chain, insert, yarn over, bring it out, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. Now you continue on to the next chain again, insert your hook, yarn over, bring up that loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook. Insert, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. And you're going to repeat this across the entire row. Try to find a rhythm. This helps your stitches become more even over time. So insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both like that. So we're just going to go like that for all the chains that we have. And in the last chain right over here, you're going to insert, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. And the reason why we tighten the slip knot when we begin is if you don't tighten it, it can confuse you into thinking that you have an extra chain left over. So make sure just as you finished making the slip knot to really tighten it to the tail end of your yarn so that it's snug. And now we have the first row of single crochet stitches. Pause and just look at your work. Look at the stitches, the placement. Is it even? Is it uneven? Do you notice a hole? Have you skipped anything? Really survey your work and look at it and gauge yourself as to where you are in your journey. If you look at it from the top, you'll notice these V's, these stitches that look like V's like this. You'll notice them over here. You see a V. You'll notice them right over here. You see this V, this V, this V, like that, like that. They're sort of V's that are holding hands. This is where you'll insert your hook for the next row, right under those V stitches that you're spotting right there. You see, that's where you're going to insert your hook for the next row. And as you look at them like that, those V stitches are also how you count your single crochet stitches. So as you said before, this loop never counts as a stitch. So if you want to count how many single crochets you have in that row, you simply count these V's. So this one doesn't count. You start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So you have 14 single crochets in that first row. And remember, at the beginning, we made a chain of 15, but started in the second chain from our hook. That means we had one less chain. So that's why we are getting 14 stitches as opposed to 15, because we used that one stitch right at the beginning to give our work a bit of height so that they all look nice and even. And that's another thing to always remember, that single crochet is approximately the height of one chain. So let's move on to the next row. Insert your hook back and you chain one, just as we've said. The chain one doesn't count as a stitch. It simply helps your work to gain the height needed in order for it to be even and to flow smoothly. So you chain one and you turn your work like that. Chain one and turn your work like that. And you're going to work at the back of your work here. Now we are going to insert our hook into the first stitch. And remember what we said about the V's? We are going to insert our hook right under those V's. That's where you insert your hook. And again, to make a single crochet, you just yarn over, pull through, then you'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both loops like that. You'll spot also that where the V's are is where we have a sort of space for you to insert your hook. You'll notice the spaces here. So you insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook like that. You'll notice more V's are forming, and you'll notice your single crochets are going, and you'll also notice it's a straight edge that you've started to make right here. That straight edge is because of how we turn as you're making your next row. So let us continue to single crochet. You insert your hook, yarn over, bring up that, yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. And you're going to continue with this rhythm throughout the entire row. Bring it up, yarn over and pull through both. Insert your hook, yarn over, bring up the loop, yarn over like that. You see the V? Into it, yarn over, bring up the loop, yarn over, pull through both like that. Let's pause here for a minute and address where most beginners struggle. If you find it hard to insert your hook into this V that you're talking about right here, into that space, it means that you have very tight stitches. How to fix this is to simply relax your hands, relax your grip on the hook and how you're making the chains. Don't be too hard, don't be too firm, just try and loosen it a bit so that the holes that you're making in the next in the next row will not be too tight. And you also don't want your work to be too tight because it will be misshapen. But again, these are beginner struggles, they're teething problems. How you learn is the process of practicing. So you'll just need to practice, and this in turn will enable you to relax your hands and to have a more consistent grip on your work. Another problem that I've noticed is you might insert your hook and continue, but as you look at it, you've left out this stitch right here. You've inserted into one loop. So how you fix going into the wrong loop is inserting under both loops. You might also notice that you have big holes in your work, and that can be from skipping a stitch. Let's say if you skipped this stitch and go on to the next like that, you see, you'll notice that your work is a bit misshapen and it's a bit tight, and there's a hole there. You can also notice that the stitches are a bit slanted. It's because of the missed stitch right there. How to fix this is to just slow down as you work and be attentive as you work as well. You just want to make sure that you insert your hook in the right place and actually work the right stitch. And if needed, you're going to need to fix this by undoing or redoing your work. It depends on how far you went into your project before you actually notice the hole. Sometimes it can go on for a few rows and you'll need to undo that work or simply to start again and redo it. As I said, be patient with yourself and figure out the right solution that will not be frustrating for you. So again, to work, you're simply inserting your hook into the spaces and working the single crochet, see, into that V, so that you have two loops on top of your hook like that. You yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook. Another mistake is missing this last stitch right there. When you get here and you leave it out and you turn your work as if you've completed the row, this will result in your piece starting to shrink. So always check the last V and make sure you've worked your stitch into the last stitch right there. You need to check them each and every single row. If need be, you can count your stitches at the end of each row to confirm before you actually get the hang of it. So make sure you actually work into that last stitch over there. There. And again, if you count your work, this loop on your hook doesn't count as a stitch, so you're going to count the V's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So you're maintaining the stitch count, which means we haven't skipped a stitch, we haven't added a stitch, and we haven't worked it in the wrong place, as you've seen. But if you've made a mistake, please don't panic. Do not panic. Let me show you something really helpful, especially if the mistake you've made is still in the same row you're working in, like this one. If you notice the mistake is, let's say, somewhere here, it means you need to undo all these stitches and come back here. So what you're going to do is, you can either undo your work slowly like that, but if you're unsure as to whether or not you'll just undo everything, you can insert your hook into that front loop like that. You see? The way you have the V's over there, insert your hook into that front loop like that to mark it, and then simply undo your work like so. And when it gets there, the hook is in the loop and it has held the work, so you've not undone excessively. There you go. Or if you find that the mistake is far off, you can just keep undoing slowly by slowly. You first remove your hook, of course, then undo slowly by slowly. Then when you get there, you insert your hook back into the loop and continue with your work, paying close attention to where you're working your stitches, to your tension, and also just being patient and slowing down. And continuing from there. And if your stitches don't look perfect yet, that's okay. That's completely fine. Every crocheter starts somewhere. with uneven rows, crooked edges. What really makes a difference is practice. You need to keep practicing, but not excessively so that you hurt your wrist and get frustrated with yourself. Just a couple of minutes every day, keep practicing, keep watching videos, keep trying to improve on yourself. Even rows that feel messy are part of learning, and they matter more than you think because they're showing that you're practicing. Right? Right. Now, as I've shown you, you know how to single crochet. Simply insert your hook right there, making sure you can see the V's, yarn over, pull up that loop, and make sure the loops land on this part of your hook, yarn over, and pull through both loops on your hook. And there you have your single crochet. You can practice by making a small square, just rows upon rows of single crochet, and watch how quickly your stitches improve. It's going to be really awesome. So I have a piece here that we started with at the beginning. So as you can see, these are 14 rows, I think, of single crochet, and you just maintain. You be consistent in how you're turning your work, how you chain one and turn. You remember how you turn your work? You chain one and just flip it like that and continue. You need to be consistent in that in order to get the straight edge that you're seeing right over here. And you also make sure that you're chaining one, not two, not three. A single crochet is equivalent to the height of a chain one. So you just chain one before you start. And you can see how working in both loops right at the beginning has improved on the structure of the piece. So that's what you want to do, especially if you're starting out, to work into those both loops so that your foundation row can get a bit of structure and it's not so loose at the beginning. And that's really all to it. That's the single crochet. You can rewind the video, you can rewatch it as many times as it takes for you to actually get the stitch. I have the timestamps to this video in the description box, so you can go ahead and jump to the section that you'd like help with. So as you finish your work, you have your piece and you want to finish it off. Now you're done with this piece, you want to make another one for practice, or simply just set this aside. What you're going to do is, as you finished, you see, that's it. We are going to do something called the fastening off. As these are rows, what I like to do is to chain one, then leave a really long tail. Again, about 6 to 7 inches works really, really well. So I think around that. And then you take your scissors and you snip off that and pull on the yarn, the working yarn. Let's set that aside. Then right here, you're going to pull that so that it's tight and it doesn't come off. That is how you fasten off. This is actually the right side of your work and this is the wrong side, but you can hardly tell because they both look quite similar. How I tell the right side from the wrong side is when this tail end is on your left side, the side facing you, that is the right side of your work. I have a very detailed tutorial on how to weave in your ends, but I'm going to show you how to do it in this video as well real quick. So you're going to take your darning needle and insert that tail end of your work. The reason why we darn in our ends is you don't want your work to come undone, especially with when washing or with time. So what you do is you insert your hook. You're going to see these small two V's over here, these single crochet stitches. That's where you want to insert your hook and your darning needle, and you want to try as much as you can so that you're not seeing the darning needle either on the back side or on the front side. You really go at it. You really go as far as you can. I think that's a good distance. You insert it and you pull that yarn. You pull it, but don't pull it so that it makes this last stitch misshapen. Just pull it enough like that, and you also don't want to make it too tight so that it's visible or noticeable. just relax your grip on it as well. After you inserted on one side, so this is where the yarn has come out of, so you are going to sort of skip a stitch over here and go back in the opposite direction, just the same way that we came, making sure that you can't see the string or the needle on the other side, and you're really going to try and get there. You don't have to go all the way to the end. Then you pull that like that. For extra security, I like going back a third time, like so. Like that. And then you snip the yarn as close as you can without actually compromising your stitches, people. Don't snip off your piece, and cut it. And that's how you actually finish off your piece. Wonderful. I call this the triple tack method, and it's how I finish off each and every one of my projects that needs to be woven in. That's how I do it. My projects have never come undone since I started using it, and they look awesome. And you see it's really hidden in there, you can't tell where it is. So try out that method and let me know how it works out for you. And if you're just starting out, I've got a beginner playlist you can follow step by step. I'm going to link it everywhere where links can be linked in this video. So you can watch it, you can learn from it, and you can get awesome at crochet. Ooh, ooh. Awesome at crochet. Awesome at crochet.